There's some things that you really can't express with words, but it was a like confirmation in my spirit.
She introduced herself, and what's funny is I almost forgot my name because I was so struck by her beauty.
The first time I met Brett, he took me by surprise because I remember we were in church and Brett came and sat by me. He was the only white person. It was an African church. So I wasn't impressed by that. It was after, we have to talk and introduce ourselves. So I was like, oh, I've never seen you before. I was an usher. I was like, I've never seen you before. Who are you? What's your name? And he said, Brett. And I was like, okay, Brett, my name is Ameck. How old are you? And he said, 22. And I was 25. I was like, what? 22? I didn't say what, but it took me by surprise. I just kept it to myself. But he was so mature, how he was carrying himself, So, and my friends were like,
I almost forgot my name because I was so struck by her beauty, believe it or not. And if you know her, you'll know she's very beautiful. And then, we didn't really talk for a couple weeks until I went to my first young adult event at church. And ever since that night, we hit it off, and the rest is history.
We've been together 6 years now. May 2nd made us 6 years.
Brett was definitely a rule follower, a quiet child. He was a little lamb. he was just a very sweet, quiet child.
I love to coach my kids' teams, and Brett, like she said, was a rule follower. I coached a basketball team, and I had this one play set up just for Brett. And I'd tell him to go to a certain spot, and he would go to that certain spot, and they'd throw him the ball, and he would make this basket. And every time he made it, then he'd look up.
And then he'd look at me, wherever I was.
Ameck was a child who grew up in a very large family. And we grew up the children to be very respectful, very hardworking. And she happened to be one of the last kids in the house. And she carried out all instructions. If we're cleaning, she would do it happily. If we're doing whatever job that she was asked to do, she did it. Even the one that she couldn't do it, she wanted to put her hand there too and try to do it.
Our neighborhood, they knew Ameck for her kindness. I remember this time when we were in the village in Bantu. Ameck came from school one day gathering her shoes. I said, where are you taking them to? He said, Mama, I met a little girl in school without shoes on. And so I want to go and give her these shoes.
What's made me stay with her so long is, not only her bubbly personality and her looks, of course, but just how loving she is and how kind she is, and the grace that she's shown me throughout the years, through the ups and downs. She's definitely shown the love of Jesus, through her to me. So I think that's really what's kept me with her.
What makes him stand out from other suitors or people that I spoke with? By the way, my longest talking to a male, it's always lasts about 3 weeks. Cause when they come close to me, befriend me, get my number, and then to find out that I'm a virgin and I'm not going to do anything with them. So they just stopped texting me, stopped calling me. So what makes him different is his morals. His morals aligned with my morals. And I remember I was so fed up. Remember when we met that Saturday, Sunday, was it? I don't know. We were supposed to meet up again. So that plan was canceled. So then he asked me, do you want to go watch a movie? Then we went to go watch a movie, right? And then he asked me out again. So when I saw where he was going, knowing that I was fed up, I don't want to be sad, I just told him, listen, if this is gonna go anywhere, I need to tell you I am not doing anything with you. And if you know you're gonna start talking to me and leave, it can't go further. At that moment, it was about 1 week, he opened up to me about like who he was as a teenager, growing up, his childish ways that led him into trouble with his parents, and how he wrote letters to say he's sorry to all his family members that he disappointed at that time of his life. And he was just trying to open up to me and tell me that, hey, I've been childish. I don't know who you've been meeting, but I've been through that, and this is me. And that night, he shed a tear. He was vulnerable, and it shook me. So I was like, okay, I'll take you seriously. And it's been long distance, but he's never forced me to do anything. And we've kept communication. I love communication. We've never gone 2 days without talking to each other. This relationship is very unique. I have none to compare it to because he's my first. But I can tell you that pre-getting into a relationship, I've never been treated by a male like he's treated me.
She's definitely very, very charming. And also her virtuousness is pretty remarkable. She's one of the most virtuous women I know besides my mom. And you know, that says a lot about her, and I've grown a lot just knowing her and being with her.
She even looked like an angel the first time she came to my house. She came bouncing in her little white sundress and just looked so beautiful, and a big, beautiful smile, and she was so excited to be there. She just is just sweetest thing.
I remember when he invited me one time to his parents' house, and I decided to cook. So I cooked stew, porridge stew. I didn't mean to make it that spicy, so I was using the cayenne pepper, because we love fresh pepper, Africans, right? So the only thing their family had was cayenne, so it mistakenly went too much in there. I could handle it, but he couldn't. So I thought, it was funny to me, but he took it well. That's another thing about him that's unique. I'm sorry. He does not get upset. He doesn't lose his temper. He doesn't get offended by things I do too quickly. He's so gentle, like, yeah. I have macho men in my family, okay? He's a macho man, don't get me wrong, but he is able to be level-headed. You know, and that's how he handled it. He laughed with me, because I'm able to tell you that it was funny, not because I was laughing at him, because he had a different perspective, as opposed to being mad or disappointed or making me feel like I can't cook. You know what I mean? It could have been negative, but yeah, he took it so well. Yeah.
We went to Topgolf for the first time. Well, it was her first time, and she'd never swung a golf club before. and she just goes right up there and swings it perfectly and hits the ball perfectly. And I thought that was really funny to just see her go up there and just be such a natural at it.
He finds it funny sometimes when he shows me something for the first time and I get it. Because I ran track in high school. Back in Cameroon, I did long jump, I played handball. Like, I'm very athletic.
Brett came into us, he embraced us, and then I turned around and said, this is a son. My mother, if my mother was still alive, she will dance, 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 because she loved Brett. And this is somebody who used to call from home and say, don't let these children marry to some other people outside. But when she saw Brett, as I can say, Brett was like an angel.
Brett and I would talk about when we were ready to be married. He was ready like year 2 to propose, and I wasn't, because I felt year 2 he was 24. Yes, I was 27, but I felt there was a bit of maturity that needed to happen. He needed to grow into a seasoned man. I would say when I knew, first of all, was when he gained some body weight. I'm sorry, he became more attractive for me personally. I thought, yeah. I knew that he was still growing, you know? So I was just patient. I knew he was going to grow even more physically handsome. He was going to grow mentally strong, emotionally strong, spiritually strong. I'm gonna say this since I have to be honest, right? But for the most part, when he had a job and had it for a while, I was like, okay. And there were other things that it was just key to me. There's some things that you really can't express with words, but it was like confirmation in my spirit. Besides the physical, besides him not looking like a boy, when I say physical, he looking like a man, and him thinking like a man, keeping a job. And yes, as well as spiritually. Those things were aligning for me. Because I know if he had proposed and I said yes, year 2, we wouldn't have made it. Because I know he's calm-minded, I'm not. He's not easily tempered, I am. So I'm patient. I will see something that he does wrong and I will correct him. So what I gave in that patience, endurance I received, right? And I gained evolved person who really evolved. Like, if you see him even just 2 years ago, completely different person. Physically different, so mentally was different. Everything was different. So if we'd done it when he was trying to propose, we wouldn't have made it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a known fact that boys mature much later than girls. And Brett was very immature for a while, but he has grown into this young man that is a joy to be around now. It's just, he used to not always have the best conversations with him. You kind of have to drag things out of him. But now he'll call me or Lori and just have a great conversation. So I think it's good that he waited. He's 28, I think maybe getting married before now maybe wouldn't have been a good timing, but I think he's ready for marriage. And
when my children get married, I always feel like I'm not losing anything. I'm gaining a whole nother family, and it's a beautiful thing. And I just love seeing my children find a spouse that loves them as much as we love them, and just knowing that just gives me great confidence.
So, yeah, it's been a long time coming, but we've definitely grown. We took it slow, and I think it's really helped that we didn't rush things, because I've personally known people that got married too quick and they've already divorced. So I'm glad we've taken our time. I mean, words can't really express how much I love her. You know, she's loved me unconditionally. I would say she loves me as much, if not more, than my mom does. I love everything about her. She's graceful, she's virtuous, she's fun to hang out with, she's my best friend, and I just enjoy, you know, living life with her, and I can't wait to spend the rest of my life with her.
There is the feeling that you don't want to let your child go, but that other commitment that a child must leave and get a husband, and with understanding that today it's not easy to get a husband, a good one for that matter. We're so happy that she's leaving us and getting a husband so they can make their own home. We're so excited about that.
I, in particular, am so happy. Ameck is going to break the bond between cultures. Ameck has made us to know that whether black or white, we are still the children of God. And so Ameck persistently showed her love for Brett, and as I'm saying now, I have a deep feeling that we are gaining, because Ameck is going to bring us another boy, a boy child, and that makes me feel so happy. And I'm so thankful for the parents that they embrace our daughter Ameck, and they taught us a lesson of God's love. We are so blessed.
And I knew very, very early on that she was the one. She's got amazing principles. We've talked about our future, how we want to raise our kids, and everything just seems to align the way that I think it should be, and aligns with you know, both of our Christian you know, morals and just where we want to go in life. So
after we get married, he's my best friend. So it's my best friend whom I've been communicating with long distance. And it's been great, but after we get married, it's gonna be way better because I'm gonna have him with me. And so the distance won't be there. As well as, you know, physically, intimacy. We're gonna be able to be intimate Like one pastor said, you have to be licensed to practice. So we're gonna be intimate, and our ideas, there are a lot of things that we want to do together. And one of those things that we don't do or we haven't done as dating is travel together. Like, I went to medical school in the Caribbean and he came to visit me. That's not what I mean. I'm talking about taking vacations together. Because we, in the spirit of saving ourselves, we just had to do some things that people don't do to put themselves in situations where, they'll regret. Like taking vacations together is a no-no. So those things, it's one thing I'm really looking forward to, is going on vacation, just having a good time together as a couple, as a married couple. And also how we've talked about our kids, how we want to raise them. That will come into fruition, obviously, and our finances, we talk about it. We're independent right now, but, I'm just excited of we have talked about a lot of things, and I'm just excited for us to put those into motion, because literally all we've been doing is making plans. So all those plans that we've been making, they're finally gonna come to pass, Yeah.
We've both saved ourselves since we've been together. So I think it's gonna be real special when we share that intimacy. And I think, it's gonna be hard. It's gonna be, it's not gonna be easy. We're still gonna, get on each other's nerves. But I think that foundation is there. So, as long as we can continue to build on that, continue to trust each other and build each other up, and help each other on our, in our careers, and our goals in life, then we'll be successful. As long as we, continue to stay faithful to God and let Him guide us, then I think we'll definitely be successful and live and have a fulfilling marriage. And we want to have kids one day, and I think that she's going to be a wonderful mother. And I'm a little nervous to be a father, but with her by my side, I'll definitely have that confidence that I can do it. I think we'll be happier because in our marriage right now, and for the most of our relationship, it's been long distance. So when we're finally living together, I know that we'll probably get on each other's nerves at times, but I think being, close to each other and just loving each other in the same household every day, I can't think of anything better than that. So
Ameck is so thoughtful. She is so patient, and she is so courageous. Ameck prays, she can fast, and she gives you time to think about her thoughts. Like when she brought in Brett, we were scared that she brought in a white boy, but Ameck was so confident that, Mommy, he's just like your child.
To me, Ameck is an angel, and she is probably the perfect picture of God's grace and forgiveness in human form. She displays that and has for 6 years. She's just the most gracious, forgiving person I've ever known.
I feel very grateful to have Ameck in my life, there was a time where, you know, I wasn't very mentally healthy, and I almost gave up on myself and the relationship altogether, but she never gave up on me. And I'm very grateful for that. I'm grateful to have her in my life, and she gives me a lot of strength and confidence that I don't think I would have without her.
My gratefulness for my siblings, because the first people I introduced Brett to were my siblings. And I remember my brother Mignon, I sent him a picture first of Brett, and he was pumping me up. And then my sisters, they followed suit. My parents came in after that because I'm their last baby, so they're very strict to begin with. My parents have no boy rule in the house unless there's a ring on your finger. I brought Brett in the house. I knew why I was doing that because we have different backgrounds. We have from completely different countries. So I was putting myself in trouble, but I knew that it would pay off. I knew that I had to take the risk. I didn't know how I was going to introduce Brett, so I told him, just come home. So he came home and it was a disaster. So I'm grateful for the growth in my dad and my mom. Yeah. Today, Brett is their son. Today, how he was introduced doesn't matter. I had to express the other side why I did that because I'm not one to break rules. I'm a very obedient child. But I had to break that rule because I needed Mommy and Papa to get used to him, to get acquainted to him. Not because I knew he was going to marry me, but if he was going to marry me, he can't come in with a ring on my finger and he's this different of a person. We would have to start all over. We'd probably be 12 years before we marry because I would want them to give me their complete and honest blessing, not pretense. Parents pretend. And that's my worst pet peeve when it comes to my relationship with parents. That's why when it comes to me and my parents, I annoy them a lot because I want it straight. And communication, I want it straight. So you tell me how you feel, and then we can go from there. And if you're pretending, I'll call you out. Even if you're my parent, I still call you out on it. So with this case, I knew it had to be a natural phenomenon. They needed time. I needed to give them the time. But I also was thinking, what if I'm ready to be married and they're still needing this time? That is if I don't introduce them now. So I'm grateful. It shook my dad a little bit. Like, Ameck, what? I told you no boy in this house. Has Acha ever born a boy in this house? None of my siblings. My siblings brought their husbands. So in this case, yeah. And I explained it to my dad and I told him I'm very proud of him. And I'm saying it again, I'm very proud of you, Papa, for your growth, your acceptance of Brett. And Mommy, she's Mommy. She was a little bit taken aback because of the obvious difference, but it took her so quickly to completely. Papa that's our bodyguard. So yeah, he had to put up a front, and he put up a good front. And I'm very grateful for that because it shows the Burns family that I come from a very loving family, very protective family, and I'm very precious. So nobody can do anything to me. My dad's love, he always says, is the covering of protection over us. Nobody can touch us. And it's because of that umbrella he has under us. I say it proudly and I believe in it as though it's my Heavenly Father's love. If I believe in my Heavenly Father, this one that I have, he was the best because he was part of the reason of his maturity. My dad put up a front, Brett was putting up a front. I didn't let him go, he didn't let me go, and he was still seeing how my dad was very, who are you? Are you really here for real? And Brett never missed our most important events. He came for everything. If he missed it, it was really, really difficult for him to show up. So that's what my dad noticed. And all of that contributed to him really maturing and saying that I'm not somebody's child that you can just take for granted, take and get married to and get divorced to. If you want to stay in this family, it's good. You're done, you're staying, we'll love you. So with my dad, there's no pretend. He didn't want him. And when he wanted him, my son, Brett, and you could just see it oozing out of him. And it's just how I wanted it. So with that time, 6 years is what he needed. Actually, it was 4. So he came around year 4. He's my bodyguard. So it took him that time. And my mom came around 6 months. But after year 4, he completely came around. And I'm so proud of him, so proud of him. My dad has done things that an African dad should not do for my happiness. An African dad is not supposed to go visit the man's parents, but because of his love for me, he did that. And that's the covering I'm talking about. So I just want to say thank you, Papa and Mommy, thank you for coming around, for accepting Brett and taking him as your son, really. I'm so excited for what the future holds for all of us.
And I'm very grateful for the love that her family has shown me. I'm not from Cameroon, so at first there was a little hesitant from the parents, but over time, they've grown to love me, and I'm very appreciative that they see me as their son. And I see them, as a second mom and dad. So, and her sisters have been there since day one, and her brother just shown me unconditional love. And I'm grateful to my family as well for all that they've done in my life, and just helping me to get to where I am mentally, physically, spiritually. Financially, they've done a lot, and I'm really appreciative, and I'm grateful.
There are certain virtues in life which, if you follow them strictly, you will succeed in life. Actually, what we told them is this. When we were bringing them up, you speak the dialect in the house. If you're speaking English, you speak English in school. This was to give them a foundation of culture in the dialect. One other instruction which we gave was, we don't want to hear anything like, this is my boyfriend, this is my girlfriend. Any of this, when you're bringing a girl, tell me, I will be married to this girl in the situation of a boy. And if you are a girl like Ameck, you are bringing in a boy and you will introduce the boy to us as your future husband. And that is exactly what she did to Brett. Brett did not come in as a boyfriend. Ameck said, this will be my husband. And the wonderful thing Ameck did was that, oh my goodness, thanks be to God. Ameck gave us time to study bread. Because that is the African culture. You don't just come in and say, I want to marry your daughter. Who are you? I got to study you for some time. And that is the wonderful light Ameck gave to our family. We had all the time. These are 6 years of wonder to us. Because we did not only study bread, we studied the family. Who is the mother of bread? Who is the daddy of bread? Wonderful people that God has given to us. God has told us, this is part of you. It's not those kind of people in the world. Ameck has done wonders to us. Bread, I don't go into those things like son-in-law, father-in-law. Bread is one of my sons. And the father of bread is my brother. The mother of bread is my sister. Period. Ameck has done us good.
His parents met me 2 weeks. We were talking. So that's another personality from parents that I really adore. I like easygoing parents. I don't have easygoing ones, but you see the contrast? It's not easygoing, doesn't mean it's not good. Because I'm used to my dad. I don't know any different. But when I saw Brett's parents, they're completely different from my parents. So I really love how they picked on who I was, my ambition, my love for God. It's very important. I'm family oriented. I love Brett. I don't know. Things like that, just they accepted me so fast. I don't know if these are the reasons I just named, but it was so fast. And I can tell it was real. And I met the grandparents. I'm so grateful. The love I experienced in that family. I remember they gave me a birth celebration when I became a US citizen. They surprised me with a cake. And I remember that, and I'm still very grateful for that. His mom didn't have to do that. But I just saw her heart. She's so giving, she's so caring and loving. And I love every pet names. I walk into the room, oh, she's here, the princess is here. Even Brett's mom's mom, Virginia, she's of late now. But I remember she would just sit in the living room if I'm in the room, and I come out of the room, oh, there she is. It's just how their love it's just so tangible, and I really appreciate how they opened up their home to me and accepted our relationship. I'm very grateful to both of our parents for their differences and for their impact, above all, their impact in our relationship. I wanted to thank Brett's siblings for accepting me as who I am. I used to ask, are you guys used to Black people around? Because I don't want to feel uncomfortable, but it never made me feel uncomfortable. And they had Black friends, obviously, but it's never been the case. Even if I was whatever color, from wherever race, they would have accepted me, and that's just who they are. And I really appreciate them for that. Aaron, Megan, Paul, So I'm very grateful for them.
They're obviously different on the outside, but they're two souls that love each other on the inside. And I think the marriage of two cultures is going to be a beautiful thing.
Ameck was so loving and hardworking. I remember a day Ameck came to the house. That was during the memorial of my mom. I will never forget that day. I wish I had taken pictures of Ameck and Brett mopping the house. Ameck would spray, and then Brett would be, all of them were on the floor, cleaning the house. That touched my heart.
I guess the thing that comes to mind first about Brett, a funny moment, was he was about this big, which I'm assuming 3 or 4, and we had gone to Fredericksburg and we're climbing up Enchanted Rock, a rock mountain in Fredericksburg, and
Where they got engaged.
and as we're going up, he was just so excited. He screamed all the way up, "I'm on top of the world!" And I kept thinking, I don't know him. Who is this child? Just all the way up the mountain, and then turn around, 25 years later, and he's taking Ameck up to the top of the mountain to propose and ask her to marry him. So I love that picture. In elementary school, one time the whole entire bus, they rode the bus to school back and forth, the whole entire bus got in trouble. And so the principal was looking at the film of the kids on the bus during the time when everybody was getting in trouble, and I was told that Brett was the only child on the bus that just sat there like a perfect angel reading his book the whole time and didn't do anything wrong. Everybody else got into trouble.
I was working somewhere, and they had to transfer me from there to another place. It was a little bit far, and I may have to write a letter to me. It was full of terms. It was all big words. You read, you will not understand what she's saying. But she, when she was growing up, she would like to talk very, very big terms. And in writing, she want to write something which she cannot even spell it.
Very young.
Yes. Very interesting. And she grew to love playing soccer and doing athletics. In fact, she was very hardworking in that case. Big terms, big writing.
Yes, I agree. Ameck, an angel is a good way to describe her. Honestly, haven't been around Ameck that much, but I've never really seen her upset, even though there's been reason to be. And, we're not perfect, and Brett's not perfect, but yet she has this capacity to forgive and love Brett for who he is. And, you can't ask for much more than that in a wife.
There are about 4 stages in understanding people in marriage. The first stage is courtship, kind of friend, At that period, everyone is very careful not to hurt the other one, as to damage their friendship. The next stage is like the one we want to put them into the marriage. And after that, they will start to live together like husband and wife. Certain things that never used to pop up during the time they were doing the courtship can start popping up now. And the greater part of it is when they have to start to have kids. So, what Brett must have not seen in Ameck is this. Ameck is quite sensitive. It's taken after me. I'm a very sensitive person. And so Ameck can quickly get into anger. But when you treat her, talk to her gently, she is going to hear very quick and settle down too very quick. That's it. That's what Brett would need to be discovering in Ameck. And then, and maybe you ask me, what I should advise Ameck also towards Brett, as I've seen Brett. Brett is such a quiet individual, such a smooth person. But that kind of person don't take his quietness for granted, because he could be quiet under anger to death. So Ameck has got to be very sensitive, to be very alert on things that she would do to Brett, because they may anger Brett, and Brett sleeps on top of it and gets pale or some other thing. So the fact that Brett is so smooth and so nice, looking nice, it's a point that anybody has to be very careful with her, because it is said, slow water runs very deep. So Ameck has to take that into consideration.
Ameck needs to know that she's a woman. Brett is the head of the family. Ameck is a wife. Ameck will be the mother of that house, but the head is Brett. They will have to put the stuff together and put 1 + 1 together before they take the decision. And I will want to say Ameck should continue to be prayerful. And she should continue to take everything to God in prayers. And that I encourage both of them to pray together, because a family that prays together, they live together, they will be happy together, and God will be in their midst. And so if she continues to be prayerful and take Brett like the husband, the father, because Brett is coming to meet her, to take her, and there will be 2 of them. She should remain submissive and respect Brett. Everything of theirs remain in them, in their house. If Brett does something that is not good, it's in the bedroom. Just wake him up. Brett, do you know that this thing you did like this hurts me? And I know Brett will say, oh, what did you say? What did I do? And they will fix it. Marriage is up and down, but Ameck should know. I have been in for decades, and Brett's mom has been in it for decades. It's not been a bed of roses, but with God. And because we know that there is no place for divorce in our family, Ameck should know, no divorce. They have to fix it out. And to remember the good days that she brought Brett to us, beckoning to us that Brett, me and Brett. And so with that love, we are sure that God is going to grant them a peaceful stay.
After 6 years, I think she's seen most of Brett. He's a gentle soul. He's sensitive. Maybe that he's more sensitive than he lets on. Mm-hmm. I think that's something to remember, because he's not one to complain or tell you. When you've upset him, he just kind of crawls into himself. And so just knowing that is, and being aware of that is important.
Yeah, I think that's good. Brett, just like me, I'm not a great communicator, and sometimes I'll get my feelings hurt, and I won't express it, and I can sort of see the same thing in Brett. Just like Lori said, maybe hold it in instead of expressing how he feels, and that's not a healthy thing. So maybe if Ameck could draw it out of him, and I think Ameck from what I've seen, she's good at doing that with Brett. I think that's one reason they connect, is because not everybody sees Brett the way Ameck does, and I think she can draw things out of him that needs to be drawn out.
Ameck is very good at making Brett communicate.
Yes.
And talk things out. Well, I think all marriages are a struggle. Marriage is not easy, but I see Ameck and Brett's marriage being one of constant growth, and because Ameck is so good at that, and at communicating and growing and learning from their mistakes, and most importantly, praying together. I think Ameck, that is a priority for her, and I think that's a really good quality to have in a marriage, to keep God first and keep Him in the center. And I think that will be just the basis of their marriage and the strength of their relationship. My sister's advice was very simple and straightforward. She said, divorce is not an option. So that's just not what you think about when you're not getting along, or even for long periods of time. It will work out. So I think probably number one is keeping a sense of humor throughout the marriage, and commitment. You're in it for till death do you part.
Both of them have to recognize the fact that they have a solid family foundation. We have been married for so many years. Nobody has ever come in any time into our problem. We don't believe in those things they call counselors. She's my counselor, I'm her counselor. So Brett too has come from a very solid rock-built family. If anything happens with them, let them look back. Hey, where we're coming from? We have to make the rock must continue. The rock that they are carrying from us has to continue. And sometimes when you go outside there to do what is not right, in Africa it is said a tree does not make a forest. If you are in the family and something is getting wrong, you do not fix it. What is the outside going to talk about the family that you are? Two of you. What of your other family? How are they going to rate you? So they should always fix that things in the house so that they don't bring intruders. That's one. Number two, friends at work, friends in church, friends everywhere shouldn't have anything to do with your family. Don't take anything, any problem that you have with your wife or with your husband, you go to tell your friend. You are not exposing your house to your friend. Fix it. If people can leave this ground and go right to the moon, what is so difficult in the house and the family that you cannot fix it? You have to fix it as easy as anything. First thing is, when the husband is talking, there are two things the husband has to do. First, listen to yourself, mister. Listen to what you are telling your wife. Be truthful to yourself. If this thing somebody was telling you, would you take it? If you cannot take it, don't tell your wife. And vice versa. Listen first to what you are saying. Is it something, if it is being put in the mouth, the person will eat it? If it's not edible, don't put it out. Most of all, in the marriage, in everything you are doing, somebody is recording. And the person who is recording is not the magistrate in this world, it's not the lawyer, it's God. Are you sure he's recording you right? Be very honest to your conscience. If you are sure, God, who owns all of us, including you, the wife, and you, the husband, is recording you right, then you go ahead.
Probably most importantly, I guess, would be think before you speak. Not to speak in anger, and to be patient and forgiving.
Yeah, I mean, I told Luke, my son-in-law, who's married to my oldest daughter, Erin, and I think I told Paul, there are going to be days that you don't like your spouse, but you always need to remember your vows and that you love them. But there will be days that you do not like them, and that's okay. But you need to remember the long view. And so anyway, it's every day. These fairy tales, and they got married and lived happily ever after. Whoever came up with that should be shot, because I mean, kids grow up reading that in all these fairy tales, and it is a fairy tale that you get married and live happily ever after. That is not true. So there will be down times, but you'll get through it, and when you get through those, it just makes the marriage that much stronger.
Ameck used to pray. This is a prayer she used to pray. The nursery school teacher taught them. And every time, even when I came here and left them back at home with Papa, when I call Ameck, I say, let us pray. Call them. Each one of them will give their own prayers. Ameck will say, bless my mommy and my daddy, both so dear to me. Bless me through the coming days, a loving child to be. So I am praying this prayer for Ameck and Brett, that because you prayed for God to bless you through the coming days, to bless us, we are praying that God will bless you, Ameck and Brett, through the coming days in your marriage. And you will shine. Both of you will shine, and you will bring forth beautiful children, God-loving. Let peace be the watchword in your mouth. God bless you.